What's up, my friends? So, a lot of you told me that the A-10 Warthog legendary plane is actually entering the war in Iran. And I found this video. By the way, this gentleman makes great work when it comes to military stuff. But the title goes this way: A-10 Warthog just got unleashed on Iran. Oh boy. I guess we shall see. So, before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. Is the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Another thing, you can also hype the video. Helps a lot. Link for the original video below. Like I said, this gentleman, awesome content creator. Show him all the love and let's go.
Welcome to the video. It's March 15th, 2026, day 16 of Operation Epic Fury, and the A-10 Warthog is officially unleashed. CENTCOM just dropped these fresh images.
Okay, sorry for pausing so early, but didn't you guys thought about retiring the A-10 Warthog? I thought it was a mistake. This plane is still incredible. This is a flying tank. Is impossible to defeat. André, we have the F-22, the F-35, the F-15s, I get it. And those are amazing. You should be proud of them. But the A-10, my friends, that's the one that touches me, you know. It's so beautiful, the sound. Oh boy.
A-10 Warthog is officially...
disclaimer, water always bad.
Unleashed. CENTCOM just dropped these fresh images of these bad boys refueling midair, locked and loaded for sustained combat over Iran and the region. This is massive. America's flying tank is back in the fight, proving once again why keeping 103 of these bad boys flying under the FY 2026 budget was...
Sorry. 103? 103. You know, English, sometimes I struggle a bit.
Massive. America's flying tank is back in the fight, proving once again why keeping 103 of these bad boys flying under the FY 2026 budget was one of the best ideas we've ever had.
Amazing decision.
Pilots are hunting.
You know, you want me to go back to play that again. You know that, I know that. Let's not waste any time. Let's play it again.
Boys flying under the FY 2026 budget was one of the best ideas we've ever had.
This is some type of SMR, the people that speak like this in the microphone, you know what I mean?
Was one of the best ideas we've ever had. Pilots are hunting Iranian-backed militias in Iraq with that iconic GAU-8 cannon, ripping through convoys, sinking fast boats in the Straits of Hormuz, potentially using Mavericks, and swatting drones like flies using APKWS rockets. If you've heard me talk about these APKWS rockets before, these are highly capable laser-guided rockets, and the A-10 is now outfitted with these bad boys. And this is incredibly smart because the A-10 flies at slower speeds, flying at 200 knots, no problem, which can be tough for an F-15E or an F-16, but this A-10 can just hang out in the sweet spot, 200 knots, roll in behind these Shahed drones and unleash these APKWS rockets. They also carry AIM-9Xs, AIM-9 Limas, but the AIM-9 is a little more pricey when it comes to striking a Shahed drone, which costs about $30,000.
Okay, so this video was released 2 or 3 days ago, right? How well are the A-10 Warthog? Is this how you say it? I always struggle with that word, Warthog. Warthog is a hog, Warthog. Let me read the word. Warthog. Is the A-10 Warthog doing well? Because since this was a couple of days ago released, I wonder.
APKW.
If I had to bet money, I would say so.
Rockets are somewhere around $20,000 each max, so you're actually getting a good deal when you shoot down a Shahed drone with an APKWS rocket. It's kind of like you're making $10,000 every time you shoot down one of those Shahed drones. But this is straight up a massive display of US air power dominance. So not only the high-tech jets like the B-2, F-22, F-35, not only are those in there crushing it. But now the worst nightmare of the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Iranian regime, and especially these militias that are just trying to cause chaos throughout Iraq. Here's a
So, but basically, America have air superiority in Iran, so they don't need because I know the A-10 loses to a modern jet, So if the A-10 faces the F-15, of course the F-15 destroys the A-10 every time, or the equivalent that Iran may have, because I think they have Russian jets, or they use it to have those, because the Air Force, from what I understand, is kind of gone. Is gone basically, so they can fly free basically, since they don't need to worry with that, and in that case they can do a lot of work.
Video of an Iranian-backed militia launching an FPV drone strike near Victory Base at Baghdad Airport. This footage shows the drones circling around before crashing into a building. So at this point, these little Iraqi militias are trying to cause chaos. They're kind of like that Chihuahua nipping at the heels of the German Shepherd. And at this point, they are annoying. They're not doing massive amounts of damage, but they're trying to stir up chaos. And the A-10 is the perfect one to roll in and say, not on my watch.
Nope.
This is a straight up display of tank killing power that can be used to take down Shahed drones, any type of armament, maybe some of the fast attack boats that Iran still has in action. Not many of those left, with their navy being decimated, but now we've got the ability to strafe and strike down those fast boats with depleted uranium rounds. Yeah, that's not going to go well. A depleted uranium round going through the hull of one of these fast boats. This could potentially...
Sorry, but can you even imagine being a pilot of A-10 and hearing that sound inside? Even all the smoke going around you, that's probably something that I mean, it's crazy to imagine, I guess, but sounds a lifetime experience, something that may change your perspective about life. Doing that is insane.
Depleted uranium round going through the hull of one of these fast boats. This could potentially not only be striking the different militias in Iraq, but also keeping sea lanes open and allies safe while Iran is essentially on the ropes right now, scrambling.
The Strait of Hormuz is the last thing going for Iran, After America, maybe with Israel, I hope maybe with some other allies, can keep the Strait of Hormuz flowing, going. I think Iran is officially defeated. At this point, the destruction was so massive that basically, yeah, I don't even know how to tell you a different story. Is basically done. America already won this war, in my opinion. I guess again, the Strait of Hormuz is so important, and we have to open that, but I mean, come on, America and Iran, this never was closed. Sorry for this sound, by the way. Let me turn off one thing here. Just 1 second. I can do it, my friends. I'm so sorry, my friend, but I had to stop the video. I was looking at my statistics on YouTube, and guess what? Most of my viewers are not subscribers. How the hell is that possible? Please consider to do it if you are one of those. That said, we are not done. Another thing, if you can follow me on social media, links below. That would mean the world to me. You make my day, as you are aware. There is also a Patreon link below, and you may find some country music reactions. Take a look. You can join for free, actually. That said, let's continue with this.
So stay to the end of this video, because we're going to talk about why the A-10 Warthog refuses to retire and why this is going to help us even more with the Straits of Hormuz and...
Refuses to retire. He's still one of the best planes ever.
retire, and why this is going to help us even more with the Straits of Hormuz and going up against the IRGC itself eventually and the Iraqi militias in Iraq. These hogs at this point are getting more action in ground operations than Maverick ever did in air operations. The BERT at this point is next level. So Operation Epic Fury has hit day 16 today, and the US military has released the names of the 6 that were killed in that tragic KC-135 crash. What an incredible crew, the things they did to empower the U.S. Air Force to get these jets over top of these Iraqi militias, other aircraft. They probably refueled everything from the F-22, F-35, B-2, A-10. So hats off to this crew. Thoughts and prayers with their families. And the names of those heroes have recently been released, and I want to read them here. From MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, Major John A. Klinner of Auburn, Alabama, Captain Ariana G. Savino of Covington, Washington, Tech Sergeant Ashley Pruitt of Bardstown, Kentucky, and 3 others who were assigned to Rickenbacker Air National Guard Base, Columbus, Ohio. That was Captain Seth Koval of Mooresville, Indiana, Captain Curtis Anks of Willington, Ohio, and Tech Sergeant Tyler H. Simmons of Columbus, Ohio. Thoughts and prayers with all the family there. They were enabling American air power over the skies of Iraq, passing gas to the different fighters, any of the different aircraft that were going in and actually striking the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and perhaps even A-10s that were taking the fight directly to any of the militias that were in Iraq. These heroes will never be forgotten. But the U.S. and Israel...
Yeah, my friends, amen to that. Real heroes to me also. Look, sometimes I get a lot of emails, a lot of messages that people try to push me into the other side. If you guys understand me, I'm never going to do that. I'm telling you, I'm never going to do that. I will always stand with America. And yeah, it's a tragedy that those young people end up dying. But I know how much you guys love the military, how much you guys also don't want war at the end of the day. But this is something that has to be done, and I think it will be done, and it will be very successful. And I hope, again, people in Iran become free, and because freedom is something that we all should experience at least one time in our life. And some people in Iran never had that,
are pounding targets in Iran. Over 15,000 targets have been hit since this has kicked.
I'm going to say something that, I have to express how I feel. This ended up radicalizing me in a weird way, because I saw the media reporting stuff that I knew it was a lie, to be honest with you. And not even only that, the way they end up putting the situation up, painting America, it's kind of like Iran is one of the worst regimes in the world. America always have been a bastion. I think this is the word, right? Again, English is not my main language, but a bastion for freedom. And all of a sudden, they turn America into a villain. I will never subscribe to that, my friends. Sorry, I will never subscribe to that. And don't even bother sending me emails trying to change my view on this. I do my research on this. I'm no expert, of course. Neither are you, probably. But I can, if I have to choose between Iran and America, that's, to me, is kind of obvious. I'm sorry.
Targets in Iran. Over 15,000 targets have been hit since this has kicked off. Currently, no reports of boots on the ground, but the potential for surgical operations with special forces teams, think Delta Force, Navy SEALs, that's always on the table, and that's where I hope it stays. No massive ground operation, and that has been focused on by the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, saying that this is not 2003. Obviously, we've got a different focus here with strategic operations going on to surgically root out any of the elements of the IRGC as much as possible prior to those 2,500 Marines getting in the region. They've got F-35s that can vertically take off and land, and that will drastically increase the combat power of what's already there. 50,000 U.S. forces in the region, fighters, bombers, attack aircraft like this A-10 are taking it to Iran at this point. And the goal here...
Oh, so he classifies the A-10 attack aircraft. Okay, makes sense.
Smash Iran's nuclear dreams, smash their stockpiles of missiles and drones, and then take down any ability they have for their navy to threaten the Straits of Hormuz. Additionally, taking out their proxies is another objective, and here's the bonus objective that I see, because if we're striking down all of these different things that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the current regime sees as their only way to keep their seat of power and keep their revolver pointed to the head of the free people of Iran who want to be free. This is their only way to stay in power. So what we've seen from President Trump so far is that the terms of the deal that Iran wants to give to the US and Israel to stop the fighting just doesn't make sense. They're probably like, yeah, we just want to stop and we'll do some.
Also, they are trying actually to reach a deal with the US. I thought Iran said that they don't want to make a deal, which I thought it was crazy, but maybe that was just some type of bluff. Behind the scenes, they are trying to, to come to some type of agreement.
Things for you, and the US is like, okay, cool, destroy your proxy networks, let all that go, never pursue a nuclear weapon, and stop shutting down the Straits of Hormuz with your proxy war tactics. And they're like, yeah, we'll do anything besides those things. We'll be nice, we promise.
Okay.
We'll take care of the Straits of Hormuz and everything else. Don't worry, US and Israel, just stop attacking us and everything will be fine. But at this point, obviously, they've grifted the world along long enough. They've tapped the world along long enough for us to see their true colors, for the Gulf states to see their true colors.
No, I think Iran is the number one founder of the terrorism in the last 20 years or something.
As well, with them literally lashing out and striking their neighbors and saying, oh, those were just targeting errors. Whoops. We just fat fingered the button to shoot the ballistic missiles and the drones towards your country, and they accidentally hit neighborhoods, desalinization plants, and oil refineries. Sorry about that, but we promise we'll play nice from here on out. But the A-10 is rolling in and saying, oh, okay, you want to F around and find out? Well, we're here to make sure you find out. And the A-10 is making sure that Iran finds out on a whole new level. This CENTCOM image of the A-10 refueling tells us a lot because of what's actually on this aircraft. That's the big thing here. So the A-10 Thunderbolt II, also lovingly known as the Warthog by those that fly it, and anybody who wants to call it something cooler than the Thunderbolt, it's the Warthog. This thing is loaded down right now in this image with 2 Maverick air-to-ground missiles to strike pretty much whatever it wants on the ground. APKWS drone-killing rockets. One of the main things here that I see as tipping the scales in the fight versus Iran. Oh, cool, Iran, you want to do these little pop shots of your drones? Well, we're going to go up and strike those down with an A-10. And it's much easier to take them down with an A-10 than it would be with an F-16. We've seen F-16s taking down these drones, but the F-16 has to build a lot of spacing behind the drones and then come in and do passes to shoot down drones, which just isn't.
No, it's not practical. It was not made for that. I mean, this guy, again, a great job explaining this to a person like me, that understands very little about water. I mean, probably at this point I understand a bit more than most people since I watched so many videos about this. But I'm still a beginner understanding this type of stuff. And this guy seems really good. At least to me, I understand basically the explanation.
Behind the drones and then come in and do passes to shoot down drones, which just isn't as ideal. And when you're low to the ground, maneuvering extremely low to the ground is okay in the F-16, but it's much easier to do that in the A-10. And then also this A-10 has a pair of AIM-9s. Looks like potentially AIM-9Xs on this thing to help with drone hunting, or if Iran gets a little handsy and somehow is able to launch some hidden Su-22 or Su-24. Those are those attack fighter bombers, those legacy aircraft from Russia, but they're not nothing.
So they still have some, right?
2 Su-24s were actually shot down by Qatar.
What the hell is that?
And they were minutes from hitting targets in Qatar. Also, the US has Al Udeid Air Force Base right there in Qatar with lots of troops, lots of infrastructure. So these were taken down F-15s, striking them down likely with AIM-120 AMRAAMs. The Su-24 aircraft were taken down while 7 ballistic missiles and 5 drones were also coming in towards Qatar to try to hit targets and confuse the targeting systems of the different ground resources in Qatar, like Patriot missiles, and any of the radar operators who were painting those different missiles and drones coming in. Iran is sneaky, right? They use terrorist tactics and they happen to have an actual military. It's a terrorist regime with an actual military. So the tactics were relatively smart here from a terrorist mindset. They launched 7 of these ballistic missiles, 5 drones coming in, and then you hide the Su-24s, which were said to be coming in at 80 feet over the ocean, taking off from an Air Force base in southern Iran. And they were coming in, acting like drones, hiding behind the drone swarm, and then what they wanted to do in-game was pop up and release their nefarious cargo and strike US forces, strike Qatari forces, and infrastructure in the region. Basically a terrorist attack with fighter jets.
Didn't expect that from them, right?
If it's not clear at this point that the Islamic...
They've been attacking all their neighbors also. The Gulf countries nowadays are actually asking America to, you guys have to finish Iran but they should help, and I think they are trying to bring them to also help to neutralize Iran completely. But when your neighbors don't even like you, I guess that tells you a lot, right?
A terrorist attack with fighter jets. If it's not clear at this point that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Iranian...
But when I say this, because this is always a sensitive topic. When I say this, I don't say that all Iranians are bad. That would be so dumb to say, right? It's just that people that are in power, most people in Iran are probably like me and you, so they would love to have some peace.
Fighter jets. If it's not clear at this point that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Iranian regime are terrorists, just look at the tactics that they use. Qatar went on to say the threat was addressed immediately upon detection in accordance with the operational plan, as all missiles were shot down before reaching their targets. And Qatar went on to say this represents perhaps the beginning of air-to-air combat, and that is a serious escalation in a conflict that is already spiraling. That was reported on March 2nd, but at this point, combat patrols of the Qatari F-15s likely up there every single day to strike down these different drones and potentially aircraft. But it looks like Iran's Air Force has been completely gutted, so likely no more fighters taking off. But that's also likely why the A-10 still has AIM-9s on it, just in case there's that one-off aircraft that gets launched by Iran, and then the A-10 has to take that down.
But
the perfect drone killer is the A-10, in my opinion. If you've been watching my channel...
See, my friends, but this makes me proud of the A-10. You guys thought about retiring the A-10, not good anymore, it's old, it's crap, whatever you guys thought. Guess what? No one thought it was crap, to be fair, but guess what? It's probably the best weapon nowadays that you guys have to defeat all the drones. How crazy is that? Kind of like a comeback of the A-10.
For a while, I've been begging for the A-10 to get loaded out with these APKWS rockets, and now it's here. But the mission of the A-10, crystal clear: neutralize threats with these drones before they hit allies, and potentially help to fully open up the Straits of Hormuz. Right now, there's a bit of a soft closure there, but the A-10 is right in the thick of it. It's perfect for close air support over Iraq and maritime operations in the Straits of Hormuz. These rugged beasts can loiter for hours, low and slow, ready to pounce. They're like that mountain lion hiding in the background, ready to take down its prey, and it's not going to let go once it gets a hold of it. And in the last 12 hours, we've seen fresh Israeli strikes on Isfahan, that's that nuclear location for Iran. Also, US Marines surging into the area with amphibious ships, and now the A-10 staying on station as long as it...
But there is boots on the ground in Iran. I thought this was not the plan. Maybe there is at this point. But I would prefer America just to keep bombing, to be fair. Because that's where I can see some... that can be a tricky situation to put boots on the ground, I would say.
Wants with aerial refueling. Multiple A-10 squadrons said to be in the region, staying on station to counter Iranian threats, counter the threats at UAE ports, in Qatar. Basically, these are the perfect drone killing platform that can be dispersed around the Persian Gulf and be the perfect ones to start to secure the area and basically hammer and beat in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the regime until they become completely ineffective with their proxy tactics. Because the military in Iran is basically evaporated at this point. Militarily, their hard power ability is basically zero. That's why they're relying on their
America is losing. Didn't you guys know about this? But they don't have no, that's not. You know what? They have mountains and stuff like that.
Terrorist tactics, and the A-10 is the perfect one to take down the terrorist tactics of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And the A-10 is showing why American resolve is unbreakable at this point. Also, the Trump administration decided to take down the military infrastructure at Karj Island, which is said to be one of the main places where they were storing a lot of their mines for the different ships that would go out and mine the Straits of Hormuz. So again, systematically taking down Iran's ability to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. And that's kind of the last thing that Iran has. But they've still got some underground missile cities, likely hiding some of their ballistic missiles that will systematically be basically chopped off, because Iran is like a tentacle with proxy warfare, missiles, drones. That's kind of the different nefarious tentacles of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. But now,
I would say one thing, my friends. Maybe people was a bit too optimistic at the beginning, saying that this will be over in 2 or 3 days. I mean, Iran is a big country at the end of the day, and there is, like the guys explaining, they have a lot of militias and stuff like that, the proxy type of, crews, military. Basically, it's a very complex job, but just takes. I think it's about time at this point.
Their navy is complete.
Another thing, we are not at the end. 2 minutes 4 minutes until the end. I need to know who watches the video until the end, or at least until now. Leave me the number 7 if you are still watching with me. And leave me another 7 if the A-10 is also one of your favorite planes ever.
Completely gutted as far as their main ships, and they're likely now just focused on some of their fast boats that they want to be able to swarm in the Straits of Hormuz. The big thing, though, even more than the fast boats, is probably their UUVs, their underwater unmanned vehicles, and those not going to be targeted so easily by the A-10, right? The A-10 is going to be focused on any of the surface vessels, those fast attack boats, any of those last remaining IRGC members that have a little bit too much cojones at this point, and the last remaining ones that haven't tried to desert the IRGC and leave the country. The smart ones have likely deserted and are on their way out. But at this point, the A-10 will be focused on those fast boats and any of the drones that could also launch from those fast boats, while the UUVs, those underwater unmanned vehicles, need to be targeted with something a little different. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I am a huge fan of that undersea leech, the lamprey. That thing can latch on to different boats, submarines, make its way around the Persian Gulf without anyone even knowing it, or it can just sit on the seabed, connect with AI to other lampreys, and detect the different launch locations of boats.
Okay, he's speaking a bit of Chinese to me now, because this is where this gentleman knows a lot about weapons, war. Okay, is this some type of drone, in the sea?
UUVs and decide what it wants to take down. But the A-10 Thunderbolt II is stealing the show here at this point, in my opinion. Rugged titanium bathtub that is wrapped around the pilot. It's also got self-healing wings. So if it takes a bullet round to one of the wings, it has self-healing wings with foam that will encapsulate.
Oh my God, it's like a phoenix.
Bullet round to one of the wings. It has self-healing wings with foam that will encapsulate that bullet and keep it from getting into the fuel supply. It's got a
bullet makes the A-10 even stronger. Shoot him. Now I go to the next level.
massive GAU-8 Avenger 30mm cannon that can spit 3,900 rounds a minute for devastating strafing runs on Iraqi militia convoys and hideouts, and also along the coastline of the Straits of Hormuz, where they could be hiding Shahed drones or UUV stores. This can roll in and strafe those areas as well with high explosive incendiary rounds that basically have a mini grenade on the end, or even depleted uranium if they were trying to get through some sort of a hardened target. And the low altitude operations of the A-10 let pilots get eyes on targets and be right up close and personal with what's going on. That helps to minimize collateral damage, and it increases the maximum amount of effects that can support any of the operations that are going on in Iran. Let's move to the 4D chess strategic analysis situation, and we'll talk about the A-10's massive payload satisfying anybody it wants to at this point. It can carry 16,000 pounds of armament, including bullets for its Gao A-10 cannon rounds, Mavericks, APKWS, bombs, 500-pounders, and more.
I'm gonna be honest, my friend, I'm already sold, but keep going.
This makes it the ultimate multi-role beast for keeping the Straits of Hormuz open, ideally having swarms of these A-10s up overhead doing overwatch and precision strikes on drones or any locations that might be launching those UUVs. And then you team it up with the US Navy's surface assets and Lockheed Martin's Lamprey, those stealthy autonomous undersea vehicles that we just talked about. They can recharge en route, basically recharge while they're attached to another ship or a submarine. You team those up with the A-10, and the A-10 can be hammering the coastline near the Straits of Hormuz with coordinated bomb runs and strafe runs on Iranian positions. This could potentially, even more so than has already been done, strip the regime's biggest bargaining chip, which is ensuring free navigation through the Straits of Hormuz and crushing their soft blockade, which they think is going to protect the regime. So at this point, it looks to me like the US has Iran up against the ropes in the worst spot possible, and now the A-10 is being unleashed. What do you think happens with the A-10 being unleashed? How much do you think we see it being used? Do you think it is the key to keeping the Straits of Hormuz open, or at least a major part of that strategy to open up the Straits of Hormuz? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would love to hear what you think. And then go ahead and follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'm posting there pretty much every day. And if you want to see me do a live stream, click the link in the description, join the Max Ready Room. I do priority.
Okay, my friends, show him all the love. Great channel. I mean, the explanation of this was, I thought it was really, really good, honestly. Sometimes, you know, I watch military videos that are difficult to follow, but I thought this gentleman really did a great job, so amazing stuff. I bet a lot of you guys are aware of him, but if you are not, again, link will be below, so show him all the support. That said, it's everything for today. Again, I hope at the end of the day this ends, of course. But yeah, maybe the A-10 is actually the solution to open the Strait of Hormuz and to bring this war to an end. My friends, thank you so much. See you guys in the next one. Bye.